Last week, the first Sunday in August, I started a series that is based around the ideas that come from this classic book called Lessons in Truth. This book was written as a series of lessons that started in 1894 through 1895, and they were published as different lessons over 2 years in a Unity magazine. People responded in such a way, they were put together and they became the first book that Unity ever published, Lessons in Truth. It's one of the most thought-provoking books you can ever read. If you come from a Christian background in particular, it makes some really good connections from a more traditional understanding of Christianity to metaphysical and mystical understanding. It was written in the late 1800s, and so you have to understand that the languaging is very much in alignment with that. So do I say everything in this book is relevant today? No. Do I believe everything in this book is exactly true? No. But do I say this book is filled with a lot of stuff that helps us create some powerful foundations? The answer is yes. And so we're taking the month of August to go back to the foundation and to look at some of these foundational spiritual ideas and practices that help us in our life, that help us along our spiritual path, wherever we are in our different places. If I ask you, do you want love and joy and fulfillment in your life? Raise your hand if you do. Of course you do. And for the people that you love, do you want them to have love, joy, and fulfillment? You have children and grandchildren? Yes, you want them to have love and joy and fulfillment and be equipped to meet the cares of this world in a way that allows them to thrive. And hopefully, if we have a heart, a universal heart, a heart of compassion, even for those individuals that really struggle with knowing the goodness that they are, and therefore struggle with acting out on that, for every person on the face of this earth, I really, really want them to know love and joy and fulfillment. Amen? Because we understand that if we could create this within us and among us, we would be living in what is called heaven on earth, and that's what we're here to create. So we want to look at that today in the context of what does it mean to fulfill and express that in your life, which is part of your potential. And if it is part of our innate potential, then what helps facilitate it and what inhibits it? And what in the world are spiritual affirmations and denials, and how do they help us in that? It's the framework that we're using. Begin with a true story. Back in the 1950s, a man came from India to the United States. He was considered a Hindu holy man. His name was Rao, R-A-O. Some of you, I'm sure, have heard of him or seen pictures or read about him. He could do things such as on fire. He could take poison in and not be harmed. He had eaten glass. And he was, a lot of attention was being formed around him when he came to the United States. A lot of celebrities, a lot of athletes were studying with him. The most notable was the millionaire heiress, Doris Duke. Doris Duke spent quite a time with Rao. She funded a lot of his visits going back and forth from India to the United States. Well, Rao was so confident of his spiritual power that he made a public announcement that he was going to walk on water in front of a crowd. And he would do this in India, in Bombay. And he was going to sell tickets to do this. And so he sold tickets. He did this in 1966. He sold tickets, and at the time they ranged from $100 to $500 an equivalent. The space could accommodate 600 people, and it sold out. And so 600 people came together among Bombay's elite for the day to see Rahu, the holy man, walk on water. And so as the ceremony began, the first thing he did was he walked across fire, which he had done many times, and people just marveled at his bare feet walking across fire. And then he ascended up the steps where there was a deep pool. And when he got to the edge of that pool, he stopped, he looked up, and then he bowed his head. And for 15 solid minutes in meditation. And so the reporter said a complete hush fell over the crowd. Everyone was quiet, watching, meditating with him. At the end of 15 minutes, he looked up, he looked out, he stepped out, and he immediately went under the water. A big splash. Not only was there a big splash, but he had a long robe and a long beard. And so in that very deep pool, now the robe is up around the top of his head, and he's struggling to get out. And so he finally begins to get himself out. And as he's climbing out of the pool, he can hear people laughing, gasping. Some of the people started yelling, "We want our money back." And so he was very humiliated and very frustrated. And so he walked over to the microphone and he looked at that crowd and he said, one of you is an unbeliever." That is a true story. Now, I personally don't believe that our purpose is to walk on water. But I wholeheartedly believe that whatever our purpose is, that our divine purpose, our spiritual purpose, our purpose to realize and express all that we are, I personally believe that our purpose, that no one else's beliefs can stop that. Amen? You can believe what you want about me. You can believe what you want about you. But your beliefs cannot stop what I believe about me. Amen? And likewise, no matter what I believe about you, that really does not impact what you believe about you. What someone else believes about us does not inhibit our ability to fulfill our potential unless we let it. And so, if somebody else's beliefs can't hold us back, whose beliefs can? Our own beliefs. And it's pretty obvious, and yet it is something that a lot of people never even consider. And so one of the first things we're saying here together is our beliefs can hold us back. That really, when it comes to fulfilling our potential, our soul's potential, I believe there's only two things that can hold us back. It is our beliefs and our not being equipped to do that. Our beliefs can hold us back because if we don't believe it, we don't think it, we're never going to try it, we're never going to rise to it. But also, we must be equipped to do certain things. For example, I cannot walk on water. I don't believe I'm equipped to walk on water. Now, maybe I do, maybe we are, but to my knowledge, not a human has discovered this yet. I don't know how to fly without some assistance. If any of you do, please see me after the service, and please see NASA, but because we're not equipped to do those things. I am not equipped to be in the Olympics. If you said, "Yay, Reverend Darlene's going on to the Olympics," you're like, "Well, I hope she's a chaplain, because have you tried to see her swim?" Or run? It's like, archery? It's like, I'm not equipped to do those things. You're not equipped. You do not want me operating on you. I am not equipped to be a surgeon. I'm not equipped to be a pilot. A fourth grade child may be a very bright fourth grade child. Or a 4-year-old child may be a very bright 4-year-old child. but a 4-year-old child is not equipped to go to law school. And so what we're talking about here is the things that hold us back are our beliefs, which we're going to begin to call our consciousness, and that we're not equipped. And what that means is that the universal law, there's a law in nature that says you do this, that a seed grows into a sprout, grows into a this, grows, that things develop sequentially. This builds on this, builds on this. And so that there's a law the way the universe works. And so if there's things that we can't do, it's either because of our beliefs or we're not yet equipped to do those things. So if you'll just suspend your questions for a few moments, and for the next 15 or 20 minutes, let's dig into this and see how we can actually begin to use it together. And so if these are the things that can hold us back, the starting place in our life and living in our spiritual life is to look at ourselves. We are the ones that have our beliefs. We are the ones that are uniquely equipped to do what we can do. And I say uniquely equipped because there's probably someone in here that can fly an airplane. Anybody? There you go. You see, there's maybe someone in here that can operate. We're out of luck on that one. So we're equipped to do different things in different ways. Now, when we begin to do our work spiritually, the first place we start is with ourself, with our I am, our beliefs about who I am, what is my ultimate purpose in life. So often when you ask people, what is your purpose in life? Who are you? You begin to hear things like, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a father, I'm a brother. I'm a fireman, I'm a nurse, I'm a teacher, I'm an activist, I'm a speaker, I'm a healer. And while these things may be true about you, they are they're roles. They're things, they're aspects of what we do. They're not all that we are. Because if that and that alone was your purpose, what would happen when you could no longer do those things? You see, that's why so often in life, when the children grow up and they're gone, we go through empty nest syndrome because we have so identified our whole purpose in raising these babies and keeping them safe and taking care of them. And now they're out and about and we're like, well, who needs me now? What do I do now? Or if your whole life you've been a musician and a singer and you excelled at that, and now all of a sudden you have a debilitating physical manifestation that you can no longer sing or play, that begs the question, who am I now? We all know what it is to go through that. And so what that tells us is that our purpose is much deeper than that. Our purpose, every individual's purpose, is something that stays with you through the many seasons of your life, through the highs, the lows, through the losses and the gains. Through every season of your life, your purpose is consistent. And what your purpose is, like all creation, your purpose as a human spiritual being is to actualize and express your potential. You see, the purpose of a flower is to release its essence and its potential. The purpose of the tree, the fruit, is to release its essence, its fruit, its potential. The purpose of a cat is to be ornery and release its potential and do all the loving things that cats do or whatever. The purpose of us, we're part of manifest creation. It's to release your essence. It's to fulfill your potential and your purpose. And so that's tied completely to your I am. Who do you believe you are? If you believe you are a sinner and the dust of the earth and a worm that is not worthy of anything, well, that doesn't give you a very ambitious and inspiring purpose, I'm afraid to say. But if you believe you're the light of the world, that you're the image and likeness of God, the one creative presence, if you believe that that presence is love and you are here to live love and to be all of those things, well, then that's a whole different story. That whatever I'm doing, when I'm a mother or when I'm a widow, when I'm a musician or when I'm dealing with a health challenge, I am always still in relationship with my purpose of what is seeking to come forth and be expressed through me now. Can you begin to feel the difference there? That's very powerful. What is seeking to be expressed now? I might not like it. I might want to change it. But what is seeking to be expressed through me now? So to know our purpose as a spiritual human being, our ultimate purpose is to express the fruits of the Spirit, the attributes of our spiritual nature, indeed the attributes of God in all that we are and all that we do. This is our true purpose, to be the embodiment of Spirit in flesh as one expression and having that essence flow into every area of our life. This purpose encompasses and yet transcends any role, any job, any title, any condition, any situation. It's not confined to time or place or circumstance. And so I am is always the place that we start with our ability to express our divine nature. Now, if you look at different spiritual traditions, you'll find that they are rooted in the belief that this is the purpose we're here to express. St. Francis of Assisi said, "Make me an instrument, Lord, of thy peace, thy presence. Use me. That's why I'm here." Jesus said, "For this purpose was I sent, to make manifest the glory of God, to testify to the truth, to be a living demonstration to the true potential of what I can be." The Buddha said, "I am an instrument of awakening and a source of blessing to all beings." Hinduism says, "I serve as a channel of your divine love and compassion." Baha'i says, "Make me a hollow reed from which the pith of self hath blown, so that I may become a clear channel for the wine, the spirit of life." Beautiful ways of saying the same thing. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, said, "I am an instrument of God's divine plan. I surrender myself to be used as a vessel of love and healing and transformation. May God's wisdom guide my action, and may God's light shine through me to bless others." So who we are and who we say we are is very powerful. And we're going to talk a little bit about beginning to bring awareness to how often we say, "I am. I am tired. I am sick. I am fed up with this. I am, I am, I am." Anything that we attach to our "I am," we're really claiming it as part of our divinity, as part of our nature. And so one of the things we can learn to do is to say, "Man, I feel tired. Boy, I'm experiencing this." One of my minister colleagues, Reverend Bill Worth, 35 years ago, a doctor told him, he said, "Bill, you have MS. You have multiple sclerosis." He went on to tell him about how his life was going to change. And Bill said, "Doc, what I hear you saying is that I have multiple sclerosis. But what I know is that MS does not have me. Because I know that I am more than any condition. I know that I am more than that. Yeah, I'm not going to deny the fact. I'm not going to stick my head in the ground. I'm going to seek treatment. I'm going to do the very best I can. And I'm going to remember that I'm having this experience, but it does not have me." Well, he claimed that so strongly. He's still living. He's retired on Maui now, 35 years later, going strong. And so to begin to differentiate and begin to really notice the power of what are we just throwing out there about our "I am." Dennis Waitley wrote something called My Robot that I think is very telling. He said, "I have a little robot that goes around with me I tell him what I'm thinking. I tell him what I see. I tell my little robot all my hopes and fears. He listens and remembers all my joys and tears. At first, my little robot followed my command, but after years of training, he has gotten out of hand. He doesn't care what's right or wrong or what is false or true. No matter what I try now, he tells me what to do. And he goes on to talk about how in time, our dominant thoughts, our consciousness begins to dominate us. That unless we are aware of what we're buying into and plugging into, they're dominating us and how we see life. I believe something's shaking up in our world right now, definitely in our country, where there's two polarities rising like we've never seen before that are really asking us to look at what are the quality, the energy of the thoughts and what I'm buying into and what I'm putting out there. Is it rooted in love and truth? And if not, help me to do all I can to be rooted in truth so I can be part of something that is helpful and healing. Amen? To take it within. Now, Dr. Emily Cady, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, one of the things she was known for, she had tremendous success with her patients. She treated her patients as a doctor in a holistic fashion, but she did something very unique. For every patient, she also left them with a piece of paper with an affirmation and denial. She gave them a statement of truth that no matter what was going on in their life, she worked with them enough to be able to write down what's called an affirmation and denial so they could take that and work with it. And so I want to spend a few minutes explaining how does that relate. We have our I am, all that we are, and then what are affirmations and denials? How do they help us? So again, the words affirmations and denials were coined back in the late 1800s, so we're going to give it some modern language and explanation. In a nutshell, an affirmation is a positive statement of truth about your spiritual reality, your spiritual being. You don't affirm something to make it true. You affirm something because it is true. It's not wishful thinking. An affirmation, the goal of an affirmation is to help us establish in our own consciousness what is already true. An affirmation, Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity in the late 1800s, who had tuberculosis. She believed she inherited sickness. She believed she was going to die early, die young. She had 3 children. She didn't want to die. And she heard someone say, "You're a child of God. You don't inherit sickness." A light bulb went off in her head because she believed she had inherited sickness. And so she began to affirm, "I am a child of God. I inherit the life of God. I do not inherit sickness. I am a child of God. I inherit the life of God." She began to affirm that which is true. It's already true. But she had something else taking up that space. You see, we're always holding things in our consciousness. Your consciousness is your experiences, your perceptions. It's your feelings. It's your awareness. Your consciousness is what constitute your inner reality. And so we are all holding our own consciousness. But you are also holding your true nature, what Jesus called your spiritual birthright. You're also being held in and existing in a greater reality and a higher reality. And so affirmations and denials help us bring these two worlds into harmony. So an affirmation is about affirming and establishing statements of truth for ourselves. It's powerful to say them out loud because it helps it take root in our consciousness. I am worthy. I am lovable. I am part of the one life, that I am here for a purpose and I am equipped to fulfill this purpose. You can feel how these things lift you up because they rise from truth. So then what is a denial? The word then, denial, has since come to mean that a person is in a state of denial, like the ostrich, put your head in the sand. It's not that kind of denial. It is not at all refusing to acknowledge. As a matter of fact, it's the exact opposite. Denials are tools that help us release. So an affirmation establishes truth. A denial helps us release whatever is stuck in the way from us being able to hold that truth. It's a tool of release. They help us release the beliefs and the limitations that block the truth from fully expressing. It's like a mental cleansing process that clears the way. Jesus said, you can't put new wine into an old wineskin because it's hardened, it's fixed, it won't expand. You need to be able to clear out and make space. And so denials are how we release and let go of those things. They're not about negating facts or reality, but about releasing the ultimate power that they have over us. We never reject the existence of a fact or a problem. Ignoring something does not exist is never really helpful. Giving it too much attention is also not helpful. Giving it ultimate authority is not helpful. Just like Reverend Bill Worth, you say I have MS, but I say it does not have me. You see, he was able to work with both of those, and he spent most of his time really getting to know what kind of power and capability, what resources did he have to rise above this. And so it helps us release the illusions, if you will, the places and the ways that we get stuck. So when we're working with affirmations and denials, a question to ask yourself is, what am I holding that is holding me back? What belief, what is in my consciousness, what memory, what fear, what am I holding, what perception, what am I holding that is keeping me stuck, that is keeping me in fear, that is keeping me paralyzed? What am I holding that is holding me back? Using denials and affirmation require a healthy dose of self-awareness and truthfulness. We must be willing to get to the truth about what's going on with us. And so I want to give you two examples today. Both of these are true, by the way. The first one was a woman, I'm going to call her name Amber. Amber was about 30 years old when she came in to meet with me. This was in another ministry. And she was just kind of nervous and uptight and never seemed happy. And after coming to church for a while, she asked to meet, and so we met. And when we met, she asked if I did couples counseling, and I said, not really. That's not my forte. Let's talk first and find out what you need. And she said, well, I'm just so afraid I'm going to lose my boyfriend. And I said, so you have a fear of that relationship ending? She said, yes. And I said, well, tell me about it. And she said, well, I don't really trust him. He's very self-absorbed and self-serving. He doesn't want children, and I do. And she went on, and the more she went on, and she just started letting it out, I said, so did I understand you correctly? You said you're afraid of losing this relationship? Because it sounds like to me you're not happy in this relationship. And she began to tear up, and she said, you know, I guess the truth is I'm afraid of being stuck, and I'm afraid of being alone. Okay, can you see now we're getting somewhere? You can even feel the layers begin to peel. So I hear you saying you're stuck. What does that feel like? I hear you saying you're afraid of being alone. What does that feel like? You begin to work on those things, and very quickly she knew. She knew that that was not a healthy relationship with her. One of the biggest things is she wanted a children, and this person, it just wasn't a good match. But she was afraid of being alone. And so when we begin to dig into that afraid of being alone, it came out, well, I don't know that I'm that lovable. I'm not all that attractive. I'm nothing special. And, maybe I should be grateful for what I have. Okay, so now we're really getting down here. Now you don't feel worthy. You see how we're peeling away the layers. That's what Emily Cady would do with her patients. And then she would write down an affirmation in denial, something that probably went like this. I release the belief that I am inadequate and unworthy of love. I am now worthy of love. I am loved and I am lovable. I radiate and attract the love and companionship that aligns with my innate goodness and the joy of my being. And you see, when an individual begins to work with that is truth. And it helps something rise up. Now, it doesn't happen just like that, but it does begin to happen quickly. They termed a process called chemicalization, because when you start letting some old beliefs go and new ones come in, there's usually a process, some sludge has to clear out. And so you have to work with it. Sarah, would you give me that song? But when you begin to work with those things, something begins to shift inside of you. The second gentleman, a minister colleague of mine, worked with this young man. This young man came in and he was afraid of losing his job. And so he wanted to meet with the minister and he said, our company's laying off and I don't have the best credentials and I'm just terrified I'm going to lose my job. I'm losing sleep over it. I'm losing weight over it. I'm just sick about losing my job. So the minister said, so I hear you saying you're going to lose your job. And the reality is we never know. Any of us could lose our job. And so let's just suppose you did. If you lose your job, what's going to happen? And the man sat for just quite a while in the silence. And he said, well, if I lose my job, doesn't that mean I'm a failure? So if you lose your job, you think that means you're a failure. He hung his head. He said, my dad left our family when I was a kid. My dad could never really hold down a job. My mom tells me I'm just like my dad. Can you see what we're getting to here? Why, this calls for radical honesty and truth. People, we get real. It's beautiful when a person does that and they get real. You can literally feel the release in it. And so after talking it through a bit, perhaps a prescription of affirmation for something like that would be, I am destined to be me. I am destined to walk my path. My Father's path does not inform my destiny. I am worthy and capable of fulfilling my potential. I am open and receptive and aligned with the divine pattern and opportunities in my life. Thank you, God, for opportunities to work and use my potential in helpful and rewarding ways. Now, can you see when you begin to use that, how it begins to set you free? Something begins to rise up in you. Because sometimes I am anxious, sometimes I am tired, sometimes I am frustrated, and sometimes I am weary or worn. Sometimes you are anxious and tired and frustrated and weary or worn. And while I may feel any of those things, and they're all valid, I can remember that there's so much more to me than the feeling. There's so much more to me than whatever I'm facing. Because what I am as an expression of the one life. I am tapped into infinite power and infinite potential. I am tapped into a source of being that can flow through my life and show up in whatever way needs to be manifest. That is who we are, and that is why we are here. We're going to anchor this into a little bit of prayer, and we're going to keep working on this month. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim my blessing. I am blessed. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I am a blessing. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I am a blessing. I am a blessing. So I invite you to close your eyes just a moment and to know that just as any seed of creation has within it the intelligence, the pattern, the blueprint, the potential to rise into its own becoming, that as the conditions are right, the potential will begin to be revealed and will flourish. And you too are a seed of creation called the divine Christ seed. I am that I am. And within the essence, within the seed, within the blueprint and the pattern of your being is all that you need to rise into the potential of your being in spirit and in manifest expression of that spirit. That within you there are capabilities that once we begin to call them forth and develop them and claim them and stand on them and express them, we begin to grow in our spirit and become a manifestation of this potential as only we can uniquely do. And so we're going to clear out any appearance of anything that says it could stand in the way and impede the growth of my soul, because it is not so. There is no thing or no one that can withhold from you that which is yours to express in spirit. There is no thing or no one that can withhold from you that which is yours to be in spirit. And as you identify and hold your I am in the presence of the one I am, as you come to know yourself as a vessel of the one life and the one spirit, all of heaven and earth open up for you. And heaven and earth has sent you for such a time as this because you are needed. You are ripe in your own becoming, on your own edges of growing. And so rise up and clear out the cobwebs, clear out the illusions, clear out anything that you are holding in your consciousness that is holding you back from demonstrating the truth that your soul wants to demonstrate. There's a life and a light and a radiance that is ready to rise up and emerge. And you are ready. Claim it, live into it, know it, and be it. And so it shall be. So in the morning when you get out of bed, claim your blessing. Claim your blessing. You are a blessing. In the morning when you get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I Sing it out with me. Here we go. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I am a blessing. I am a blessing. I am a blessing. One more time. Sing it like you mean it. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I will claim a blessing before I even lift my head.